In episode 41, titled Compare Symmetric and Asymmetric Cryptography in Practice, we frame the choice between cryptographic families as purpose-driven trade-offs, not ideology or fashion. Real systems move money, protect people, and keep reputations intact. So the question is never which math is pure, but which tool gives the required confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity at the speed and reliability the business can sustain. Symmetric techniques excel at fast bulk protection when both ends already share a secret. Asymmetric techniques shine when parties must prove who they are or agree on a secret in public. Most modern designs use both, because each family solves a different piece of the problem. If you start from the outcome, what must stay private, what must be provably unaltered, who must be trusted, you will land on a crisp, defensible mix instead of an argument. Asymmetric cryptography uses matched key pairs, one public, one private, to unlock new abilities. Safe key exchange over untrusted networks, digital signatures that prove origin, and verification that does not reveal the private secret. Rivest-Shamir-Adelman, spelled RSA on first mention and RSA thereafter, remains common for compatibility. Elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman, spelled ECDH on first mention and ECDH thereafter, and elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, spelled ECDSA on first mention and ECDSA thereafter, offer strong security with shorter keys and faster operations on modern platforms. Because the public key can be shared broadly, any party can encrypt a small secret to you or validate that a message really came from your private key without learning that key itself. This property enables trust bootstrapping in open environments, which symmetric methods cannot accomplish alone. Performance characteristics draw the clearest practical contrast. Symmetric ciphers like AES deliver near-line rate throughput for data at rest and streaming confidentiality, particularly with hardware support and authenticated modes. Asymmetric operations are comparatively expensive in CPU and latency, especially for long keys or on constrained devices, which is why you do not encrypt multi-gigabyte backups with RSA or ECDSA. The efficient pattern is obvious in production. Use symmetric encryption for the payload where every byte benefits from speed, and reserve asymmetric operations for the handful of values that gate trust, such as session keys or signatures on short control messages. When you match the family to its natural job, you meet tight RTO and RPO objectives without oversizing hardware or draining batteries on edge devices. Because asymmetric keys enable trust without a pre-shared secret, they are the natural way to bootstrap secure channels. Transport layer security, spelled TLS on first mention and TLS thereafter, uses asymmetric handshakes to agree on a fresh session key and to validate certificates that bind identities to public keys. That session key then drives symmetric encryption for the rest of the conversation with perfect forward secrecy, which ensures yesterday's traffic remains safe even if a server key leaks tomorrow. In enterprise platforms, a public key infrastructure, spelled PKI on first mention and PKI thereafter, issues, revokes, and renews certificates so services and users can prove who they are at machine speed. The asymmetric tools are the doormen. Once they let you in, symmetric engines carry the bags. Hybrid encryption combines asymmetric key wrap with symmetric data protection to deliver both trust and efficiency. A sender generates a random data encryption key, encrypts the large payload with AES in an authenticated mode, then encrypts that small data key with the recipient's public key. The recipient uses their private key to unwrap the data key and proceeds to decrypt the payload. This pattern scales to many recipients by wrapping the same data key under multiple public keys without duplicating the payload. It also separates duties cleanly. Storage services can hold encrypted blobs, identity services can vouch for keys, and application services can decide who receives which wraps. The result is minimal exposure, fast throughput, and a crisp audit trail. Workflows become straightforward when you let each family do what it does best. If a team needs to share a large file with a partner, they encrypt the file symmetrically with AES using a one-time key and initialization vector, spelled IV on first mention and IV thereafter. They then send the tiny symmetric key to the partner by encrypting it with the partner's public key, validated through an agreed certificate chain. Delivery can happen over email or an object store link. The secret never rides in the clear. Rotation is painless because the one-time key lives only for that file, and compromise of a past key does not endanger other files. If the same file must reach 3 recipients, you produce 3 small wraps, not 3 copies of the data. Key management is where operational differences matter most. Symmetric keys must be generated with strong randomness, stored in hardened services such as hardware security modules, spelled HSM on first mention and HSM thereafter, and rotated on schedules and events that match data sensitivity. A single leak can expose every object encrypted under that key. Asymmetric keys separate risk. A compromised private key lets an attacker impersonate you or unwrap new data keys, but does not reveal historical sessions if forward secrecy or one-time data keys were used. Rotation looks different too. Certificates can be reissued with short lifetimes and automated renewal, while private keys demand careful custody, access logging, and proof of possession during onboarding. Document where each key lives, who may use it, how long it lasts, and what proves a rotation succeeded. Certain pitfalls recur and deserve explicit countermeasures. Reusing an IV with counter-based modes collapses confidentiality. Current defaults, such as AES in Galai/counter mode, spelled GCM on first mention and GCM thereafter, generate fresh nonces and provide built-in integrity, which reduces misuse. Choosing outdated ciphers or modes like DDES or ECB exposes patterns. Safer defaults favor AES-GCM or CHA-CHA-20 Poly 1305 where supported. Using small public exponents or weak curves under RSA or elliptic curve systems invites avoidable risk. Stick to widely vetted parameters. Rolling homegrown crypto or stringing primitives together ad hoc is another classic trap. Prefer proven libraries with constant-time implementations and documented misuse resistance. Safer defaults are not a luxury. They are how you eliminate whole classes of failure. Protocol mapping shows how these choices play out. TLS handshakes use asymmetric operations to authenticate endpoints and agree on a session key, then switch to symmetric encryption for the data flow. Email security offers 2 flavors. S/MIME relies on certificates from a PKI, while Pretty Good Privacy, spelled PGP on first mention and PGP thereafter, often uses a web of trust. Both encrypt the content symmetrically and wrap the key asymmetrically. Secure Shell, spelled SSH on first mention and SSH thereafter, performs a key exchange, authenticates the server, and optionally the user, with asymmetric methods, and then moves bytes with symmetric ciphers. In each case, purpose drives mechanism. Asymmetric to prove and agree, symmetric to carry the load. A concrete backup and transfer scenario makes hybrid value obvious. Your organization produces nightly encrypted backups for a payment ledger. Each backup is encrypted with a fresh AES key and IV. Then the key is wrapped under your operations team's public key for restore and under a regulator's public key for escrow, with both wraps stored alongside the backup. When a cross-organization investigation requires access, the regulator uses their private key to unwrap only the needed data key. No one exchanges long-lived secrets, and access is traceable. When a restore drill runs, the operations team proves possession of its private key, unwraps the specific data key, and restores in a clean room. If either private key is rotated, future backups simply carry new wraps. Past backups remain safely bound to past wraps without re-encrypting terabytes of data. A quick decision frame links the crypto family to practical constraints. If the data is large or streaming and latency tolerance is tight, symmetric encryption is the natural choice for payload confidentiality. If parties lack a shared secret or must produce public proof of origin, asymmetric methods, signatures, and certificate-backed authentication belong in the handshake and control path. If devices are constrained, favor algorithms that match hardware capabilities and avoid long asymmetric operations in the hot path. If operational simplicity and compartmentalization are paramount, designed for one-time symmetric keys wrapped per recipient with automated issuance and renewal for asymmetric credentials. When you pose the decision as data size, identity need, and operational rhythm, the correct blend presents itself. In closing, the right answer is almost always a hybrid. asymmetric keys to establish identity and deliver fresh symmetric keys, symmetric ciphers to protect the heavy payloads, and signatures or HMAC to guarantee integrity and origin where appropriate. Document why each piece is present in terms of data value, threats, and performance, and measure that the implementation behaves as intended with tests and configuration checks. As a concrete next step, direct the documentation of one system's current mix algorithms, modes, key sizes, lifetimes, storage locations, and where asymmetric operations sit in the path. Then propose a safer hybrid that adds authenticated symmetric encryption by default, per-recipient key wraps, automated certificate renewal, and clear rotation rules tied to risk. When purpose drives mechanism, cryptography becomes a dependable servant of the mission rather than a mysterious art. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.